You are about to enter a space where male energy is sacred and protected with honor. Welcome to Gods of Semen. I am Laert, a specialist in male spirituality and mentor in the art of seminal retention, an ancestral practice validated by modern science capable of unlocking his mental strength, raising his spiritual vibration, and completely transforming his presence into the world. If you feel that you are always tired, without focus, lost between desires that drain your vitality, know that this is not weakness. It is the system trying to keep you broken. But there is a way out, and it begins with the mastery of its own energy. Here you will find out what no one has taught you, how your semen is much more than fluid. It's a code of power, direction, of renaissance. And with each video, we will expose truths, break standards, and rebuild the identity of the man who does not double. Stay until the end, because today I will deliver you revelations that can change the course of your journey. And if you are ready for this transformation, you already subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and strengthen this movement. Because this is not just content, it's a silent revolution, made by men who have decided to wake up. Every man seeking personal evolution needs to undergo an internal rupture, the discovery that the largest field of manipulation is not physical, but psychological. Invisible manipulation is silent, emotional, and usually begins with small concessions, subtle words and gestures that seem innocent. But when not perceived, it turns into a constant venom, which erodes its identity, destroys its self, confidence, and transforms you into a prisoner without visible currents. Defining emotional manipulation is like pointing to the wind. You don't see, but you feel the impact. That's when your emotions are used against you. When your words are reinterpreted, your distorted actions, and your sense of reality begins to weaken. A compliment followed by requirement, a criticism disguised as care, a silence that makes you apologize for something you didn't commit. This is manipulation. And the biggest trap is that she looks like love at first. The subtlety is the most dangerous weapon. Unlike direct attacks or visible aggressions, emotional manipulation operates behind the scenes, undermining your decisions, distorting your perception, and making you believe that it's always your fault. Often, she begins in the sexual or affective field, where the woman perceives breaches in her emotional control and operates through sex, validation, and silent punishment. You think you are in love, but it is conditioned. Recognizing the signs is the first line of defense. When you realize that you are always stepping on eggs, justifying everything, or feeling that your vital energy is drained without explanation, something is wrong. If you feel you have lost the leadership of your own life and have become someone who only reacts to someone else's emotions, you are being manipulated. The price of this is high. You begin to disconnect from your mission, your strength, and even your spirituality. This chapter is a warning, a call for you to start seeing the invisible. Because only when man recognizes the hidden pattern can he break it. And this is the basis for the next step, understanding the most common techniques that control you, even when you think you are in control. Gaslighting is one of the most dangerous ways of emotional control, and the hardest to identify. She doesn't shout, she whispers doubts. You say what you feel, and she replies, "You're exaggerating. It was just a joke. You're going crazy." Gradually, your mind begins to doubt what you see, what you remember, what you feel. Manipulation disarms you psychologically, and you begin to apologize for feeling pain. The woman who dominates this technique doesn't need to lift her voice. It breaks you inside, using doubt as a weapon. Guilt is another silent but deadly instrument. She envelops you with phrases like, "After all I did for you." Component placement. "You never think of me. If you loved me, you would do that." These words do not ask you, force you. The man who does not understand this believes he is fair to give in. But it is, in fact, being tied by an invisible bond, that of emotional obligation. Manipulation transforms simple gestures into exchange coins, and transforms their freedom in debt. Sex, when used as punishment or reward, is no longer expression of love. It is domination. It offers intimacy when you want something. Remove affection when you say no. This programmed oscillation trains your brain as if it were a conditioned animal. You learn to seek her pleasure as the salvation of your own peace. This is not a connection. This is energy control. And the more you submit to this cycle, the faster you become. These techniques are not taught in manuals. They are inherited, observed, improved in the social field where female emotional. Power is subtle but extremely effective. And here is the most important point. This is not just the case with bad women. Many don't even realize they are manipulating. Female manipulation is mostly instinctive, because the entire system has taught them that emotional control is the only way to keep a man next to. Therefore, identifying these techniques is the first way to regain your integrity. When you name the game, it loses power. When you see the hidden structure, you start to get out of it. In the next chapter, we will deepen the silent impact this generates on men's lives, of emotional self, sabotage to the destruction of self-esteem. Because manipulation does not stop in the field of mind. It contaminates all your life. Emotional manipulation does not destroy a man at once. It erodes in silence, like an infiltration at the base of a building. At first, he only feels tired, confusion, a slight sadness he doesn't understand. But over time, this invisible pain begins to shape your identity. The man who previously trusted himself begins to doubt his own value. Self-esteem collapses, the clarity goes out, and what remains is a fragmented version of who could be. Anxiety arises when he tries to predict her reactions all the time. He stops acting freely and begins to walk in eggshells, measuring words, movements, even thoughts. Depression settles when he realizes he is alone, even in a relationship, because there is no room for him to really exist, just for him to serve, give in, obey. This is not love. It is masked emotional imprisonment of romance. Socially, the impact is as brutal as it is internal. The man begins to move away from his friends, the family, the activities that connected him with his essence. Gradually, he lives within the woman's emotional universe, a world where everything revolves around her mood, her desires, her validation. Isolation is strategic. The less connections it has, the more emotionally dependent it becomes, and the more dependent, the more manipulable. But the cruel effect of female manipulation is what it leaves after everything is over, an invisible scar that makes any new connection difficult. Men who are emotionally controlled start to suspect all women. They become cold, distant, or completely submissive. They lose the ability to trust, to surrender, to lead with a firm heart. The pain does not die when the relationship is over. It remains alive, shaping decisions, sabotaging dreams. The good news? There is a break, a moment when the man wakes up, where he realizes he is living inside a script he has not wrote. This point can be now, but it only happens when he understands that it is not enough to move away from manipulative women. He needs to heal the part of himself that allowed him to be controlled. In the next chapter, we will reveal what differentiates men who break this cycle from those who spend their entire lives in him. Because recognizing the game is just the beginning. The real power is to refuse to be a piece of him. Awakening starts with a choice, and maybe that's yours. If you feel you are stuck in a stagnation cycle, confused about your purpose, or distant from your spiritual power, then your next step is already clear. I present my new book, Alchemy of the Gods, a deep journey for forgotten knowledge that has the power to realign your soul and light your inner strength. Here, you will understand how Kundalini, crystalline oil, and the principles of spiritual liberation connect to release your true vibrational identity. No matter where you are on your way, the book is available in physical, digital, and audiobook format. That is accessible for you to turn your routine into a ritual, wherever you are. Click on the description link or the fixed comment and start your rise now. But first of all, I have a novelty that you didn't expect. I just launched audiobook Semen Retention Success Path with more than 2 hours of direct and revealing content about the 6 essential pillars of seminal retention. This material is the definitive key to unlocking your vital energy, restoring your mental clarity, and raising your focus to a level that most men never reach. And there are bonuses. When purchasing audiobook, you get 30% off the exclusive ebook, The Art of Semen Retention for Men, with 20 pages of advanced techniques for spiritual evolution, emotional control, and activation of your life purpose. Transformation begins with the right knowledge, but is complete with decision and constancy. And if you want to be part of a community that is walking up, become a member of the channel. Members have early access to content, priority responses in the comments, and other privileges that strengthen this mission. His participation maintains this movement alive and makes this knowledge come to other men who need to awaken. Click, read, listen, and get up. The world needs its high version. No man is born ready to recognize Anne. Emotional trap. Most of us learn in pain, but from the moment you awaken, when you finally see the invisible strands that control your attitudes, your energy, and even your silences, you enter a new battlefield, conscious liberation. And this war begins inside. The first step is to develop emotional intelligence. This means observing your emotions without judgment, understanding your triggers, and realizing when you are being manipulated by guilt, fear, or desire for approval. Men who have no dominion about their emotions are like puppets in the hands of who knows exactly what to tighten to control them. You can't expect to be free if you keep reacting like a boy who just wants to please. Self-knowledge is also fundamental. A man who knows himself deeply knows what he accepts, what he does not tolerate, and, most importantly, what weakens him. He understands the value of his own silence. He learns that not every discussion needs response, and that inner peace is worth more than any external validation. The more you dive into yourself, the less space you can master you from outside. Next comes the establishment of boundaries. Limits are not walls, they are gates. They define what comes in and what doesn't come into your emotional life. A clear limit says, I respect you, but I respect me more. And that needs to be said with actions, not just with words. The woman who really values you will respect your limits. Which tries to break them has already shown you who it is. Assertive communication is the sword of the emotional warrior. Talk clearly, eye on the eye, no fear of displeasing. A man who positions himself firmly, without screaming and bending, radiates a force that is perceived even in silence. And this is what breaks the manipulation cycle. Presence, posture, purpose. Finally, if necessary, seek support. This does not make you weak, it makes you lucid. There are groups, hiking siblings, conscious therapists who understand what you have gone through and know how to guide you in reconstruction. Because being strong is never falling. It is knowing how to get up, clean the blood from the chest, and keep walking. Wiser, more selective, and more armored. And now that you have understood the hidden mechanisms of female manipulation, the choice is before you, continuing to be controlled or becoming uncontrollable. In the next few episodes, we will enter the mind of the man who dominates his sexual and spiritual energy, and therefore becomes unattainable even for the most subtle games. Because when a man gets up, the whole system trembles. When you choose not to react like the majority, when you decide not to respond to the call of immediate pleasure or bend to emotional pressures, something changes, not just inside you. The world around you feels. You become a point outside the curve, a deviation in the programming, a man who can no longer be foreseen or used. Today's society was shaped to control man by pleasure. Pornography, apps, shallow relationships, Everything is calibrated to keep you needy, hungry, distracted. But when you enter the path of retention, the domain of your energy, you are no longer consumer and become creative. The scarcity of energy becomes abundance of presence. And this presence is dangerous for those who live from manipulating. Women who control by emotion cannot keep men who do not need them to feel complete. And the system, which profits from your fall, collapses when you choose to stand. Because the true retainer does not seek applause. He seeks alignment. He doesn't have to prove he is strong. He is only. And this is felt before it is understood. This man lives on purpose, does not react on impulse. It does not give in by need. He has learned that retention is not just about semen. It is about sovereignty, about commanding your own energy, your time, your attention, your soul. And when he stands in that, no one manipulates him anymore. Not even the outside world, nor your old wounds. The man who dominates his energy becomes a painful mirror for the weak, a mystery to women, and a challenge for the system. But he doesn't have to explain anything, because its own existence is already a code, a living prophecy, that it is possible to win inside before conquering on the outside. In the next few chapters, let's reveal how this silent energy shapes your aura, your mind, and reality, making you invisible to emotional and visible control only for those who vibrate at the same frequency. Because true power never screams, it transforms. It is not the voice, it is not the physical, it's the frequency. A man in retention does not need to show off. He doesn't have to scream. Its simple presence already imposes respect because it carries a different energy, denser, more centered, more selective. The environment feels before it says any word. It is as if his own magnetic field created an invisible barrier between the essential and the disposable. This aura is not produced by appearance. It is born from within, from the vibrational consistency created day after day by someone who does not negotiate their energy. The gaze becomes firm, not for anger, but for the clarity. The gestures are minimal, but loaded with intention. The voice becomes more paused, but each word echoes as a decree. The retainer learned to move in the world as one who doesn't have to prove anything. And so, everything in it becomes proof. This energy confuses the weak. The woman who manipulates her body feels lost before someone who does not react. It offers pleasure, and the retainer does not accept. She teases, and he watches. She charges explanations, and he remains silent, because those who align with the spiritual no longer bend with the emotional disordered of those who want to control. The presence of the retainer generates discomfort. It does not fit the pattern of domesticated man. He doesn't want to approve. He doesn't ask for attention. He does not participate in the race for the desire of the masses. And exactly that's why everything seems valuable. It is not accessible. He is not available. He is not on sale. And that makes it magnetic. The aura of the retainer is the reflection of its internal discipline. And this discipline, over time, becomes spiritual shield, vibrational radar, and energy sword. He enters environments and everything reorganizes. Partners want it without understanding. Rivals avoid him without admitting. And ordinary people just feel that something has changed in the air. Because it has changed. You have changed. The next step is to understand how this aura creates a field of spiritual protection and silent manifestation, and how to maintain this high frequency without falling into the traps of vanity, lust, or disguised spiritual ego. The war is not over yet, but now you have stopped being a target, and it began to be a threat. You are not only tired physically, you are exhausted by delivering your energy to what does not strengthen you. Every auto-sabotage cycle begins with a passing pleasure and ends with a soul farther from its purpose. The question is, how long will you ignore the call to become the man who was born to be? The decision is now. Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and watch the next recommended video. It may be the missing key in your awakening.